is after my stint in Sinoland, twice. This is my favorite URC. At 6 pesos, when it was capitulating, I also called up April Tan, our head of research. April, anong pinakamaganda? Boss, URC tayo. Buybacks from 14 pesos all the way down. Dito tayo sa URC. Then in fact, whenever I put an all-in, I will all call my major shareholders for a meeting. O ito, all-in na tayo dito ha, all-in na. At 6 pesos, I could get a confirmation from one of my major shareholder. He couldn't say yes to me. Sabi niya, hindi ko kaya. Sabi ko, bakit? Naipit ako eh. He bought, not New York City, but he bought a basket of stock and held it all the way down. Hold it all the way down. And we were telling them to get out. He didn't get out also because he would believe in a long-term story, which eventually went up. The problem is during those times, and I asked him, I said, how many times have I asked you to buy stocks? Never. Why? Because it's expensive. The day that it's cheap, dito na tayo. Hindi na magawa. Hindi na talaga magawa. That's why it's very difficult. You think you can do it. It's really difficult. Because if you have to write it down 50, 60, 70%, because it was a crisis, a financial crisis, the world was in trouble. Lehman went down, Merrill Lynch went down, Goldman has to be refinanced. During the 2008, 2009, it was one of the most difficult periods wherein can you put all your money in. So at 6 pesos, ayaw niya. So ang ginawa ko, nag-sideline muna ako sa Hong Kong. Kaya may sideline sa Hong Kong. That's why the entry, I use Hong Kong. Because Hong Kong may buyback. I can see the buybacks going in. So I went to Hong Kong, 2 trips in Hong Kong before I went to URC. So I bought it at 8 pesos. That day, I remember that. I think, Lawrence, were you the one who executed for me? I bought so many shares. By the end of the day, I was down 20%. But then, syempre, wala na. Because I had made money in Hong Kong, I put it in, all in also URC. The biggest problem with URC is I sold it at 12 pesos. It went to 200. This one is very recent. When we saw ABEC coming in, and there was a strong yen that was making a major down move to one of the biggest bank. And I remember that day. I said, when I see huge capitulation, huge disparity, 5-6 times price to book, PE, 6-7% cash dividend. Sabi ko, sige, all in na rin natin to. All in din. That's the same thing. That day, I also, by the end of the day, I was down 10 million pesos also. But the next day, gap up. You make 8 to 10% in a very huge move in just a few days. Now, the reason why, I need to show you this, the reason why I showed this, what we did, we always sell it on the major first rally, we sell it already, is because sometimes stocks can go just sideways for the next 8 to 9 months before it starts moving up. Today, if you look at the same company, it's back to the same price. So everything is hindsight. Everything is hindsight. Everything is hindsight. So the policy-driven crash, you have to know if it's a policy-driven, that means it's just going to bounce only for a few weeks. Then eventually just go sideways. Go sideways. All right? So let me share with you, this is what we call the capitulation play. The last, of course, was last year, 2018, when Trump was so noisy, tweeting every day. There was a Chinese trade war, and the whole market was going to the dogs. I shared this in a workshop early this year. Same thing, it's called a policy-driven crash. When it's a policy-driven crash, that means the maximum is about 20-25%. When you see huge capitulation, you want to be there also. All right? Okay? So this is the first chapter on capitulation. The next one, please, try to understand the chart at the top. It's called the life cycle of a junior mine. You have to identify, learn. Most of the reason why most people lose money trading, especially, for example, in the third telco last year, was because of that. They didn't understand how this kind of speculation works, right? This is what we call informed speculation. You need to know where you are, where you're buying it, and you need to know where you want to be selling it. All right, so please, we showed this already in our market outlook early this year. Go over it again and try to understand. I did a small stint in Canada. I brought my family in 1989 because I did a market speculation in one of the biggest copper mining company in the Philippines. And I did the same, accumulate and accumulate. And what happened was I really got sick because the price didn't even go up. Because the biggest copper mine during the time was not operating. I didn't know that. I thought it was just pure charting. Pwede na ito, di ba? I didn't know that you need to understand fundamentals. Right? So I was accumulating this stock, I think in 1987, 1988. And I was really excited about, because I saw copper price going from 65 to 85 cents. Gold was going up also. Silver, I think I remember that day, $7 to $11. And I said, my God, this is so good. Nobody was buying this copper stock, the biggest copper mining company. Accumulated and accumulated and accumulated, 12, 13 pesos. Copper price went up. And what happened is, I remember that clearly. It went up to 15, 50, 16 pesos for the end of the day. I went to Merrill Lynch, yes, I remember that. And I saw the price of gold at 480. Copper price at 85 cents. Silver at 11. I was so excited. Sabi ko, okay na ito. The next day, it's going to go to 18, 20 pesos. Guess what? 8 o'clock in the morning, I was in the Manila Stock Exchange already. Looking at the price. Hey, something is wrong with the price, the quoted price. Gold was $4.40. Silver was $7. Copper went down to 65 cents. Sabi ko, this is wrong. So I check again and again and again. Tama pala siya. It was the biggest meltdown in commodities that particular day. Can you imagine? Within the day, huge meltdown. So I was walking in the floor. I think steel was still there. I was walking on the floor, and there, my people were laughing at me. Madudulas na si boss dito. Kasi the price from 15 went back to 12, 13. So eventually I got out. But I was not feeling well. The stress, can you imagine that? And I said to myself, what's the use of all the money in the world? Kung mamamatay ka lang. After 6 months, do you know what's the price of Atlas? It was the biggest takeover. I was correct. I was just 6 months way ahead. 65 pesos. The biggest takeover. So those are the experiences that we have to go through. So when I went my stint from 89 to 95, I was spending most of my time in the library understanding what is this speculation all about. And here I have to remember in Toronto, Canada, when I came back, I read a book in the library. I was so depressed every day. It's called The Gold Book by Financial Times. And there I saw the life cycle of a junior mine. When I came back, I told my chairman, who is a mining enthusiast, and I said, Chairman, I know how to do this already. So we look at his production, and it was the beginning of the capacity cycle, meaning the beginning of expanding from 500 tons to 5,000 tons. It's 10 times in production. I asked him what is his cash cost, and he said it's about $140. At that time, gold was $380. And I said, this is good. And I started accumulating. Then I started promoting it. So we got out at 30 cents, the balance 50 cents. Because at that time, the reason why we were able to sell at 50 cents is because Manila Mining made the most money that year, and my chairman became the Mining Man of the Year. So everybody was buying Manila Mining. And who's selling? We're selling. And that's how, when you're buying a telco, when you see the guy face on in front of the major news dailies, you better sell, not buy stocks. Because that's a buy on rumor, sell on news. That's the reason why the buying of ISM taking over, prices are at the top. All these telcos, if it's coming out on the news, it's always at the top. That's why you need to learn how to do it properly.